Welcome to week 2. Hey everyone, welcome back to App Development Club. If you're new, welcome. If you see me before, welcome. But yeah, today we just have like a little bit of an intro to the project. We're actually going to start getting things moving. I hope everyone has a laptop. That's like the main thing you'll need today. But yeah, the fun stuff. So with that said, I actually really want to, this project is super exciting. As you know, we're making an AI chatbot. So you good?
Yeah, he doesn't have a laptop.
Oh, you don't have a laptop?
Yeah.
Hey, it's no worries. You can actually on our Discord, all the resources will be posted.
Yeah.
Perfect. And yeah, so I actually have the details here for the project a little bit more fully fleshed. So yes, it's going to be an LLM chatbot, essentially like a chat GPT, but it's going to be fine tailored on syllabi, course data, professor information. So I don't know if anyone used Rate My Professor? Awesome. So like, yeah, we're planning on using data from that, web scraping the whole entire page, feeding that to the bot so it could make intelligent decisions on that. And yes, it's going to be a full stack web application. So that means like a back end, front end, AI. And then it's also going to live on the internet. This won't be a mobile app. So if you type in your browser, click that URL, that's what it'll take you to. And then yes, it is a hot topic right now. Everyone's heard of ChatGPT, Bard, Dolly. So we're kind of just like following that wave. And you guys did vote for it. So I hope you guys are interested. And yes, it will be software agnostic. So what that means is essentially you guys can pick what you want to do once you get into your teams. We're not going to really like force you to use a one specific technology, but if you want to use something specific, you can. And yeah, I made this like logo. It's actually AI generated as well. Fun fact. Use.ai. But yeah, welcome guys. And yeah, so now this is probably, I'm going to pass it off to Taz because he's going to take you guys into like installing all the required tools for this project.
So we're definitely going to be installing a few things. Let me plug myself in. So
just you guys can share screen on Zoom.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And then all of these links for these tools are posted in our Discord under the links channel in Fall 23. So if you like see something here that you don't know where to find it, just also check on the Discord.
Okay. So who here has heard of Visual Studio Code? Awesome. Who here has it installed already? Okay. Well, that makes this part really quick for you guys.
Awesome.
For those of you who do not have Visual Studio Code installed, I have posted links in the Discord. If you go to our Discord under Fall 2023, go to links. It's the very first one. Basically, takes you to this website, and you want to download VS Code for whatever system you're using, Mac, iOS, Linux. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's basically just a code editor that's really easy to use, really fun. And it's highly recommended by all of us to use. There are other ones out there, but definitely recommend VS Code. So give you guys a second just to download it if you have not, but looks like majority of people have. Second thing we're downloading today is Node. Who has heard of Node and who has it downloaded? So who's heard of Node? Okay, less people. Who has it downloaded? Okay, okay. So click on the link again, right on the in the links in the Discord. Take you right here. Download it for whatever Windows or Mac. Don't download the source code. I'm not quite sure what the source code actually does, but definitely do the LTS version, recommended for most users. I think it should pop up like some installer. Just keep clicking next until you get it done. And then you can check whether you have it installed by going to whatever your command prompt is. For Windows, it's command prompt. Not sure what it is on Mac. Terminal. So Node like dash. Oh shoot. Well, just in your terminal, you can just type in node-v, node space -v. Once you have it, everything installed, to double check to make sure that you have it on your system. Yeah, you have a question? So it's under Fall 2023. It's going to be the first one. It says links. Yeah.
Is anyone having issues setting up Node or VS Code?
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
yeah. It's pretty standard. They use
pretty standard.
installers, so you
Yeah.
basically just gotta click next a bunch of times.
Yeah, that's basically it. Not super difficult. How's everyone's progress on that looking? How fast is it? Actually,
You're good?
good.
All right, got one.
Yeah, got one, two, looking for two, halfway. Hand, question? Are you done? Okay,
Cool. And if you want to check if you had it, someone mentioned it, but if you do node-v, you
Yeah.
can see the specific version.
yeah, like I have 18.16.1, so that's just the version I'm using.
Yeah,
It might be
recommend
different for you
latest
guys.
binary.
Yeah. So, cool. Okay. So just follow the instructions, super easy. Next thing on the list is Python. Who here has obviously heard of Python? I'm assuming that's pretty much everyone. Who here has it installed? Okay, a lot of people. Basically click on the Python link right here, take you to this. You're gonna wanna click latest Python download, and it should, has all the features and stuff. And you wanna download it like down here. I should check this page out. Yeah, okay, yeah, go to downloads and like Windows, and it'll take you through it, or Mac, whatever you have. Make sure though to copy like the path, know where it's downloaded, because you have to add it to path. So you go to like edit the system environments on Windows, which you can't see because of Zoom. So you go to your, I wonder if I can share it. Let me reshare my screen actually to make it easier. Stop share. Screen. Okay. All right, it's called like edit system variables or something on Windows. What you want to do is you go to environment variables. You see this one called path right here. You click on path, you click edit, and it has a whole bunch of different things. Like right here, you can see I have my Python added to path. So make sure you guys do this. I'll give you guys a second to add it to path. And what you do is you just click new, and then you copy and paste where it's downloaded. Okay, yeah. Where is this? So in your like search bar, just look up edit the system environment variables, or just like env. Just look up env, and it should be like the first one that pops up.
If you've already used Python before, you probably don't have to do this.
Yeah. If you've already, if you already use Python, you probably don't have to do this. This is just for those who have not installed Python before.
And then you can check the same way by doing
Yeah,
Python
exactly. In whatever terminal you're using, you do Python -v. Yeah, what's up?
Can you like put like the instructions like is that on my
Yeah, I can type it out once I'm done with this and send it. Awesome.
There's also the recording on
Yeah,
blog.
recording on Zoom as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'll stop sharing that one. Cool, reshare. Lastly, you're gonna want to install Git. Who here has heard of Git? Yes, okay.
Get good.
Yeah, Git good. So you click on the link, it takes you here, and it basically has instructions on how to download it on whatever operating system you're using, like Mac, Windows. So just follow the instructions. I believe another like installer pops up, and you just have to click next a whole bunch of times sometimes. You can install it through terminal as well. But yeah, just follow these instructions. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Let us know if you have any questions on that.
I highly recommend using the installer.
Yeah,
The GUI helps a lot.
it makes it so much easier.
Also, no worries if you guys can't get this installed by this meeting. We're just preemptively having you guys download these things.
Yeah.
So when we actually go into the project next meeting, you're going to be using some of these things. So.
Yeah.
Anyone have any troubles up to this point?
question? So if I'm looking at the environment variables. If there is a thing that says path and then like Python path,
You should be good. Any more questions? Comments, concerns about anything we just discussed? Okay. So hopefully all you guys at least know how to install these now. They will be used in this project. I think that was it. We're gonna do a quick demo now.
Cool.
Uh,
Thanks, guys.
yeah.
Awesome. Let me share my screen. Cool. So now at this point, you should have each of these tools. We're definitely going to be using it very extensively throughout this project. Let me hide these annotations. And yeah, live share and extensions are a big thing about VS Code. It's super extensible. You can add customizations, themes, and a bunch of other stuff. So I highly recommend VS Code as your primarily editor. And then does anyone not have a GitHub account? Cool. So if everyone has a GitHub account, I'm going to post a link in our Discord channel in general. That's actually a way that you can join our organization. And then if you join our organization, then you're able to collaborate with us on this project. So let me put that in general, or is it already there? Or does someone else want to just like put that so I don't have to break the share? But yeah, so you're gonna click the link on the website that we made. It's called App Club Portal. And then you're gonna sign in with your GitHub. And then once you sign in with your GitHub, you're just gonna click a single button and then it's magic.
All right.
Okay. Now it should be in links in that same section where all the links were to download.
Let me know if you cannot see that link. This is probably like the most important step, going on the Discord and clicking that link. Because if you're not a part of our organization, you're actually not going to be able to work on the project. Because yeah, we use GitHub. You guys got it? Cool. And then once you sign in with GitHub on the app itself and then click join, you should check your notifications on email and GitHub itself to see the invitation. And then it's going to be from me, just new Matt.
And on your GitHub, you can go just click on your profile icon and then you can go to your organizations and it should be there.
And then do you want to paste in Zoom as well?
Yeah, sure.
So was everyone able to get in the portal? Cool.
Okay.
Cool. No issues. Nice keyboard, man. And then I put NVM here. This is just Node version manager. That's a way you can change different Node versions because this is JavaScript world. Things are always changing. So from one version to the next, your whole project can break. And yeah, it could be useful down the line, but completely optional. And I guess we can continue. You guys are already doing this kind of, so we'll skip that. And now we have a little special presentation for you all. Me and Sebastian are going to do a little GitHub and Git intro. You pretty much don't even honestly need your laptop. We'll basically be doing it through the screen. But yeah, ready?
Yeah.
Cool.
Share
So
screen first.
yeah, you can share screen first.
Okay. So I'm gonna do all right. So for those of you guys who have, a lot of you guys have heard of GitHub and Git. Basically what this demo is just to show you guys how to initialize a repository. A repository is basically a shared code base where we can all work on a project. That's basically where our chatbot project is gonna lie for this term. So really quick, this is an example repository. Basically, there's nothing on this repository right now. But if you wanted to, let's say, add some or start coding and add code to this repository, first you actually have to bring it down to your machine. So right now it's on github.com, but it's not on your computer. So you have to copy this link if you go to code and copy this HTTPS link and go to, I'm not showing this screen. But you go to Visual Studio or whatever your IDE is, or the terminal, and you would.
Can you share that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just share your entire desktop.
Is that working?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So this is Visual Studio Code, by the way, for those of you who haven't seen it. And yeah, so basically the command to bring down from a project from GitHub to your machine is, well, first you'd have to initialize Git into a file in your computer. And that basically initialized Git. And then you'd add a remote branch, name it. So I'm naming it origin.
Typo.
Yeah. Git remote add origin, and then you copy the link. And we can explain this to you guys if you guys have any issues. I don't expect you guys to memorize all these commands. This is just an example. And so basically right now what I just did was basically be able to push changes from my computer to github.com. So if I wanted to make a change really quick, I could make a new file called readme.md. And right here, you guys can see it created a new file. And if I just wanted to make some changes really quick, like demo project, and save it, right now, if I were to go onto GitHub, it's actually not on there. That's because it's on my machine, but I have to push those changes I just made to GitHub. So to do that, you have to add the file you just made. So readme. And now if we go do git status, you can see all the changes you made. DS store, that's a hidden file, but I can actually just add that really quick. .ds store. And now all of my changes are on basically my local repository. And to push those to github.com, they're still not on there. I have to commit my changes with a message. My message is, let's just say, added readme file. And now I've committed them. But to actually have them go onto GitHub, there's one more step. You'd have to git push. And actually I have to set the upstream. The upstream is basically where Git looks for to push, or for changes to push onto GitHub. So I do origin master. And okay, wait, let's see what happened here. Oh, I have to pull this. Sorry guys. Git pull remote. So the remote is that, I believe.
Yep.
And I would do master. Okay. Did that work? I think it worked.
No, you have a conflict.
I
So you have
do.
to, I would copy and paste the last command and fast
Copy.
forward.
Wait, which command?
Git config pull.ff only.
Git config pull .ff. And then I can push now.
Yeah, or git pull.
Git pull. Not possible.
Diverging branches. Interesting.
Okay.
Are you on a branch right now?
I am git status. I'm on master, so the main branch.
I see it. Okay.
Well, okay. I guess. Okay, maybe what we can do is maybe you make changes on your machine, and maybe it'll work that way.
For sure. Yeah, so basically what just happened is that because you can actually see we were using this repository before, but I just wiped it. So I deleted everything that was there because of course we want to show you guys how it's done. But when I did that, it actually made it so that when he adds his own changes, they conflict because they're diverging histories. So you see there's already 4 commits here, but he's adding a single commit that's completely unrelated. So that causes a bunch of conflicts. We could resolve that, but to save the sake of time, we're just like continue with the demonstration.
So do you want to do the node stuff then?
Oh yeah, for sure. So now what I'm about to do is actually, I'm gonna go into that repository and then I'm gonna get it locally. So let's go OSU app. What is it called? Git demo?
Yeah.
Let's go GitHub. I have so many repositories. Oh Lord. Can you send me the link by any chance?
Yeah. I'm putting it.
Oh, found it.
Okay.
So here's the repository. I'm doing the same steps that Sebastian just did. But now I'm just going to do it in the terminal. Let's make this bigger so you guys can see that. Okay, so now I'm going to clone the repository locally. So now I have the repository. If we see that, I can actually just go into that right now. And then here, as we see, there's nothing in there currently. So let's say you guys are working on this AI chatbot. Currently, there's nothing there. However, you want to add a backend. So what we're about to do is actually start the development process. And this is called a Git workflow. So usually to start a Git workflow, the first thing you do is always create a branch. A branch is basically a copy of another part of your repository that could do the exact same things. So in this case, use my typing. So in this case, I created a new branch Tom, and I also switched to it. So in this branch Tom, I'm going to make some changes. Okay, so the first thing we could do is actually create a hello world program. So I'm going to do npm init y, which just sets up basically like the JavaScript version of a packet, a requirements.txt. Yeah. So let me also open up VS Code while I do that.
Also, you need to share your screen on Zoom.
Oh, it's not on Zoom.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Thanks. Share screen, desktop. So now I have VS Code here. Also, I'm using GitHub Copilot, which is I highly recommend using, not for like assignments and stuff, but just for like club.
You can get it for free for
As
the
a student.
GitHub Student Development Pack.
So now that I created this package.json, I have this main here. So this is the entry point of my program, main index.js. So now if I create that file, so now I have a index.js and then I have a package.json. Now that I did that, what I can do is actually start our hello world program. So, and this is JavaScript, of course. So we could do a console.log. And then let's do a hello world. Thank you, Copilot. And then here, let me remove these floating meeting controls. What I'm going to do is actually add a script. So let's say you add some type of arbitrary code inside a file, in this case, index.js. If you want to run that code, you have to write a script for it. So here we actually have a script already, which is test, but this wouldn't really do anything besides echo that command since we don't really have any need for it. However, I'm going to create a start script. Thanks, Copilot, but I don't need that. Node index.js. And then when I run this script, AKA whatever's in here, this command is actually going to get run. So if I do this, so if I type npm run, we can actually see all the scripts that I have, which is start. So now if I do npm run start, that's running my first script. And now we have a hello world. So that's basically like how you can do a hello world in JavaScript, AKA Node. Now, the next thing we're going to do is, okay, we're in a branch Tom. How do I actually get this onto the repo? Because you can see there's only master here and then this new feature branch. So the way I do that is, of course, see the changes, I add them. Now that I see them again, now they're actually inside the working history. What I could do is commit them. So here, there's two ways to commit. So if you just do this, git commit, it's actually going to open up a Vim editor. So here you can actually write the commit message. I'm kind of weird. I like to use emojis for my commits. Spazazz. Oh, I put a 1. How do you exit Vim? Most classic CS major comment. Okay, so that's how you exit. So now I just made a commit, Spazazz. And if I do git log, I can see all the commits I just did. It looks like this because, of course, Mac doesn't Unicode characters, right? But yeah, now that I have that commit, what I could do is actually push that to the remote, which in this case is GitHub. So if I do git branch -r, you can see that I have these remotes. Git push, and then I'm doing view origin Tom. And now I just set up my new branch, which is also on that GitHub repository that we just talked about earlier. So if I go here, you can actually see it says Tom had recent changes 1 minute ago. And then there's two ways to, of course, merge a repository into a remote. However, the easiest and way I recommend for most of you all, since most of us are beginners, I recommend using the UI. So if you just click compare and pull request, you can actually see that it basically provides an editor for you to do everything I just did in the terminal, but a lot easier. So I can just say test PR, and then this is a PR. And then you can see all the code that I wrote that's right here. So this is basically the same thing as if I did git merge with so I would be doing it to master and then Tom. So this is the same equivalent, but I'm just doing it through the UI. So if I click this, I create a pull request. Now it's checking, okay, there's no conflicts, there's no security issues. If I click merge, there's also multiple options. You could rebase, which just rebases everything that's inside of the history into the other one. There's another one called squash, which basically like deletes everything up until the last one. So it squashes them into one. And then there's a merge commit, which I usually just do because it makes a whole nother commit. So you can see it says merge pull request. And after I press confirm merge, it's successfully merged and closed. So now that hello world we just made is on master. And here's Tom too. If I want to delete that, I can as well. And yeah, that's basically how you get your code from local to remote. In this case, we're using GitHub. Any questions? Pretty straightforward.
By the way, not all of you, or people who didn't want to code, who wanted to work on like the UI and maybe some aspects of the AI team, you're not really going to have to work with the command line, like the terminal, but you are going to have to work with GitHub, because we're basically our project like management type of, I guess, system is going to be on GitHub. So you're not going to need to know any of these commands if you're not really coding at all. But
yeah. However, I do highly recommend this. These are like the stuff that people use as software engineers every day. So if you learn this as a freshman, honestly, like you're already ahead of like 99% of people. But yeah, so now I'm going to go back to master. So this is just me going back to that other branch. Remember, we're doing the Git workflow. So now I'm back on master. If I ls, there's nothing there. Why is that? That's because, of course, I haven't grabbed the stuff from the remote. So if I do git pull, now I have all those changes I made. And then if I do ls, they're here again. And then I could do npm run start. Is that what I called it?
Yeah.
And then we see a hello world. And yeah, that's how you set up a basic JavaScript project. This is just a hello world. I actually have a more in-depth example coming up soon. But yeah, any other questions? Cool. Now I'm actually going to show you guys me doing like a more interesting example versus just hello world, because like, of course, most of us could do that. But I'm going to actually be showcasing OpenAI. So do you guys all know what OpenAI is? Cool. So what we're going to do is actually grab OpenAI's API reference, and we're going to use their services and put it into our code. And once we do that, we can, of course, like interact with it. So in this case, what I'm going to do is actually, so here, remember, like I said earlier, we have the package.json. This is usually what I like to do is have like a backend and front end. So in this case, this could be, we could consider this our backend. And then if I do this, I could do npm create beat latest. So what I just did here is actually bootstrap. Well, I'm in the process of it, but what I'm doing here is actually bootstrapping the front end. So think JavaScript, HTML, CSS. So what I'm about to do down here, I'm going to call this the client, because this is like the stuff that you see. I can use like vanilla JavaScript. This is probably what you learned in like CS290, but I'm going to use something called React, which makes that a little bit easier. And then I could choose like TypeScript or JavaScript. And then now it basically tells me what to do. So if I go into the client, remember, we still have the same directory structure. I go into the client, now I run this command. This command right here, npm install, what this basically does is install everything that's in that package.json. So if we look at this package.json, there's currently nothing really here as in regards to dependencies, because all we're doing is running a script that we wrote. However, if someone else writes their own code, let's say someone writes code to add two numbers, a function. If I need that function on my machine, I would add it as a dependency here. However, since I don't have dependencies, I don't need to do that. But for the front end, there is dependencies, such as React. So I'm going to install those dependencies using npm install. This takes a second. My laptop's also like 6 years old. Okay, so you can see I added 267 packages. If I cat the package.json, you can see that I have a bunch of dependencies. So this looks a lot longer than what we saw here. So this is like my own, I created myself. This is like an external one that was set up for me. So we see all these dependencies here. We see React, we see all these like types and Vite, which is what essentially allowed us to bootstrap everything. And we also see the scripts up here. These are just different scripts because it's specific to a React project. And now what I could do is actually run it locally. So it gave me the command earlier here, npm run dev. So it's that same script workflow I told you guys about. So if I just do npm run, I could see all those scripts. So in this case, we're just doing it for development. So I'm just going to run a development script. Okay, so now it's running locally. So if we go to this port, if we go to this IP, so this is just your local machine, it's on port 5173. If we go there and click that, we can finally see our first project. It's just like a simple counter, I think. Yeah, but yeah, so this is how you bootstrap a front end. So what I just demoed is basically me running someone else's code, bringing that to my machine and installing it and running it locally. So in this case, this is just a tool called Vite, which is just like, it is what it is, next gen front end tooling. So it makes it so that I don't have to set up everything myself. I basically just type one thing, I have everything. And yeah. And now that we have the, oh, clicked the wrong thing. Now that we have the front end, of course, we need like a server. Remember, like I said earlier, we're going to be working with OpenAI. So what I'm about to do is actually set up the process for that. So in our backend, this is currently the state of our backend, just a hello world. That's not really exciting, honestly. So I think we should improve it. So to make a backend, of course, backends are built on servers. A server is, of course, a server. But yeah, so in a server, of course, you can make requests to a server, you get a response. So what we're going to do is make a request to OpenAI, and we're going to ask for a response. So in this case, I have to do a few things to set that up. But since documentation is a developer's best friend, we'll do that. I already have it here. Cool. So OpenAI is really great with your documentation. Sorry if this is super bright, guys, but they basically tell you exactly how to get started. So this is like the Python equivalent. Our AI team will probably be using Python instead. I'm just using JavaScript as an example. However, this is the command that we run. Remember, I talked about npm install. So this is the same thing, but this is me grabbing OpenAI instead of React. So now let's do that. So here I'm in the client. If we do print working directory, so if we go back, let's stop that server. Let's go back one directory, and then let's go in. So our backend is just on the root. That's okay. So what we'll do is just npm install OpenAI. Welcome back. And then we're going to install a few other things. So in this case, I need a few things to run a server. I like using one thing called NodeMon, which basically makes it so that every time you make a change to your server, it automatically restarts. And then, oh, I just did npm, so I forgot the I. So npm I nodemon. We also need express. Express is just a way we create servers in JavaScript. Damn, the frats are out early, I guess. And then the last thing I got was .env, which is a way that you can have secret credentials inside your code base. So now we're just going to follow through with all the keys. It looks like they give us like an example command list. So it looks like I can just basically copy paste this directly. Okay, let's go back to our code base. So recall this is our back end. So notice how I just copy and pasted that directly. This is OpenAI. You can see that it comes from our node modules, which is where we install all of our packages. So we can see all those packages here. These are like the stuff that your code runs that are third party. And yeah. So here I have all the other dependencies that I just mentioned, and now we can set up our web server. So one other thing I'm going to need, I'm going to clean up this code a little bit. I'm going to need Express. So let's import Express, or its app from Express. And then what we're going to do is initialize our app, or I could actually do it this way. Express. Thank you. And then here, so I'm using Copilot, so it basically helps me understand some of the commands that I'm like a little forgetful of. So yeah, so basically what I did here is just created an app. So I created a server. Of course, one server is one server, but you can distribute them if you want. Here it's asking me for an organization ID, which I don't have. However, I do have this API key, which is Discord. Cool, cool, cool. So we're gonna grab that API key really quick. Don't look at this. There we got the API key. So now there's two things I could do. So I could just put the API key here and just like upload this to GitHub and get hacked and then lose $1 million. However, we use environment variables for that exact reason. So you can see here that it's actually using a variable process.env. So that's basically returning an object that contains the user environment. So let's say an environment is like GitHub. Your code's on GitHub. That could be its own environment. If it's running on like Netlify, or if it's running on like GitHub pages, those are all different environments. In this case, we're getting it from our local environment. So now let me create a .env file. This is just a hidden file where you store like private keys. Like, so if I do OpenAI and then paste that key, please don't take a picture of this for Sebastian's wallet. Now I can actually have that. I think it's just OpenAI key. And then I don't know if I need this. So remember, this is just an example, of course. In the actual project itself, we probably won't be doing anything like this. But I'm gonna actually get the example method for that transcription. So in this case, we're gonna want to do like a chat. So I could ask the API something, and then it'll give me a response. So let's check that out. Chat completion. Here, I think it's this one. Yeah, create chat completion. I think they're only showing the object. Let me see. Oh, here's the request. Okay. We could also just get it from an old repository I worked on. GitHub. So I'm going to get this from another code base that I actually used. Doctor. Cool. This is shameless plug, but I actually made essentially an altered version of what we did or what we're going to do. But this is actually I think you got, what place did we get? Sandy? Oh, you didn't make this with me? Oh my God. Okay. But yeah, so we basically made a chat GPT, but instead of like general questions, it's only for healthcare advice. So yeah, we made this for a hackathon. But because I did like the same thing, here's the backend. I'm actually just going to steal the code. This is why we love GitHub. So if I scroll down here, here's the actual code that I need. So I can literally just copy and paste all of this. Honestly, I could start from like the exact top, to be honest. And then I could put this in here. So some of this stuff we don't need. So down here, this is just listening for the server. This is basically how we connect to a port and how we like interact with our server. So here I could just change this to like 8080. And then we'll just say 8080. And then up here, I'll get to that later. So I added more dependencies here. We're not using this. This is unrelated. This is also unrelated. And then this is sort of unrelated, but we're still using OpenAI. I don't need these middleware functions. And then this is express, cores, and .env. So now this is what I'm doing here. So I'm loading the environment variable. I'm creating our server, and then I'm configuring OpenAI so that we can interact with their API. And then here's the OpenAI object that we instance. And then here's like some middleware that I don't need. I don't need these bottom two. And then I also don't need cores. And then here's just me getting an example user from GitHub to show that the server works. And then here's actually our first endpoint. So let's say you make a request on Google. If you go into like the network tab, so I can actually do that right now. I like using neil.fun. I don't know if anyone knows who this is, but I love this guy. So if we go into the network tab on Google, we can actually see all the requests that we're making. So if I click like really any of these requests, oh, he has some bad ones too. Headers. And then if we zoom in here, you can see this, this little request that it actually made. So this is kind of like what we're going to be emulating. So you see it's making a request to Street View Pixels, Google APIs.com, V1, and then it's a bunch of other stuff. Like here you see the API client, and then just a bunch of other miscellaneous data. And they're making a GET request. So how does that work in our project? Wrong one. In our project, we're making a GET request to this endpoint. However, because we're running it locally, it's only to 8080. So we're making a request to API/AI with the query. So I'm just going to say, what should I ask for a question? Anyone? What? Nearest hospital?
Just in nearest hospital.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And then this is just me console logging that data. I can actually just do this and then we'll say that. We could leave that. Cool. So everything should be configured now. Basically what I just did was I installed OpenAI locally. This is once again a JavaScript project, index.js. And I have these packages here that allow me to run that. So let me add a script.
There's a question on the left.
Oh, question? Oh, I see what you mean. Good call out. Thank you. Thanks. Oh yeah, thanks. Awesome. So yeah, what I was doing is just getting the environment variable, adding these dependencies here, OpenAI, Express, NodeMon, and then I'm adding a script to start our server. However, since this is a development only script, we'll only say dev. When we're actually running this in like production, we just say node, because usually we just put this in the dev dependency. So now if I go to my terminal, wrong notes, less, we have our client, our backend just lives there. So if I do npm run dev, import statement used outside of a module. So this issues because I'm using old JavaScript and new JavaScript at the same time. So I actually have to change my type of my module to a module. So there's common JS and module. Module is usually like the modern version of JavaScript with like import async await. Common JS is with the old version of JavaScript, which is what we don't like. And then OpenAI doesn't provide export configuration. Okay, it looks like OpenAI has changed a lot since I last used it, which I kind of should have expected, but that's okay. So let's just look at the documentation. We love live coding. Completion. So
Same issue. Was it with text Da Vinci? We're using text Da Vinci for the.
I think so. I could Copilot and bang it, but I don't know if that's worth a try. Let's see, introduction. So it's asking for configuration, even though I have it. That's interesting. Am I spelling it wrong?
Let me see.
Configure. I don't know, because it's interesting because they provide it themselves in their documentation. Like if you see that right there, they literally say import configuration from OpenAI. Oh, I do the same thing, right? But it doesn't work. So that's cool. I guess we can try. Let's try directly copying it again. Oh, push this part. Configuration, response, list engines. That's interesting. And we don't need organization. Let's just say OSU App Club. And then let's change this to key. Cool. So let's try it now. Configuration has already been declared. So that means I have a duplicate. Does not provide an export name configuration. Interesting. I guess I can just configure it directly. Would that even work? Let's see. Interesting. Okay. Well, I guess we can scrap the OpenAI for now since it just doesn't want to work. Of course, that's happening in live coding. However, what I can do is emulate a request and response cycle. So what I'm going to do is actually keep this query, and then we're going to act like OpenAI actually like responded to us here. So then we're just going to set a response. What is the closest hospital, Corvallis? Good Samaritan Hospital. Cool. And here, this isn't actually AI, so we won't send that. And then we'll just send a response. Cool. Shout out to Copilot. So this is our query. If we console.log it, we can see that too. And then here. So now this is like the most bare bones server, excluding OpenAI. We love demos. So now my server is running. So now what if I make a request to that server? So if I go to localhost, and then remember we're on 8080 down here. So we're using 8080. And then if I do /API/AI, I finally got that message. So this is kind of like what I was talking about earlier about the API lifecycle. So you make a request, you get a response. In this case, I made a request and then I get this response. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the backend part of stuff. If you're using Python, I don't know what the AI team is going to use yet, but whatever you guys use, this is pretty much how web servers work, like in every stack. But yeah, does anyone have any questions? Sick stuff. Awesome. And then the final thing I'll be showing is how do you actually connect this to a front end? Okay, so like, let's say we actually have the AI chatbot, but I want the actual front end to like get this response. So, oh, I see, okay. So I only have 4 minutes left. So we're actually about to speed run this really quick. Okay, that's not running anymore. Let's see how fast I can code, guys. Run dev. We have the client here. So, okay, we have the backend. They're both running at the same time. All I have to do is open up this React code here. And then if I do const get data, this is just going to be an asynchronous function, which makes a request to some API. In this case, our backend that's running at the same time. Copilot already knows. Highly recommend, but don't recommend using it for your assignments because that's cheating. And then get data, it's assigned a value, but not never used. So now this is React. So we do it in the side effect. So if I just do get data, and then this is only going to happen when you first render the page. So at the end, I'm going to console.log that data. So we should see Good Samaritan Hospital inside the browser. So let's put the whole endpoint, HTTP, localhost 8080, API/AI. So this is like we're example. Basically, it's like we're hitting the chatbot and we're asking it for a response. In this case, OpenAI didn't want to work, so we're doing it mocked. Let me zoom out, inspect element, and then I should see Good Samaritan Hospital. And it says it failed to fetch. And that's because it's blocked by CORS policy. So the way I work around this is actually stopping the server, doing npm i CORS, and then what I do is rerun the server because CORS is essentially I'm requesting the server from a different origin that's not whitelisted. So I actually got to accept that. CORS, actually I could just do it this way. Import CORS. And then what I do is app.use CORS. So that allows any IP to hit this backend. And then if I just refresh, we can see it. So that's basically like the whole life cycle. We made a request from the front end and we got it in the back end. So this is like a really dumbed down version of the chatbot, but this is how you write code in one side of the code. So remember how I mentioned full stack? So you write code in the back end here. We do all the stuff. Let's act like the API is doing, or the chat GPT is doing everything it needs to do. And then on the front end, we just handle that like so, or I don't even know where it went. Like so. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the demo. Thank you guys all for coming.